Here are 10 things that you need to know before you hike the Cumbria Way. The Cumbria Way is a 70-ish mile trail that wends its way through England's Lake District. The trail was devised in the 1970s and officially blazed in 2007. So because it's a newer trail, we had some trouble finding information about different things along the way. We did the best that we could with what's out there, but after hiking it, here are 10 things that I wish I had known before I hiked this trail. The weather apps are not always right. Plan for all weather because the weather apps will lie to you. When we completed it in early June in 2025, we had on and off rain the whole time. I packed both my rain jacket and my rain pants and was glad for both. We also had pack covers to keep our packs dry. However, according to the locals, it had been beautiful for 6 weeks before we were there. Ugh. I had packed shorts as a backup and only wore them for sleeping. And I was glad I packed pants because I was cold the entire time. Number 2, bag transfer is available and you don't have to pay for all nights. To make our lives easier, we did bag transfer through Sherpa Van. We had our bags picked up the morning of day 1 and then reunited with them on day 3. In our day packs, we carried clothes for the night, shampoo, conditioner, etc., and anything we needed for hiking during the day. So we did not have our bags night of day 1, night of day 2, reunited day 3. And we also got them at the end of the trip on day 5. So this helped reduce pack weight as I was able to ditch dirty clothes and some stuff that I hadn't used by day 3. And it was nice to actually be clean for a dinner in Keswick. It is possible to get a bag transfer for all 4 nights, but we elected just to do the one on day 3 because it was cheaper that way. And we're pretty smart about packing. And that leads into number 3. It is easiest to do bag transfer from hotels, not Airbnbs. If you're going to do a bag transfer, keep that in mind when planning your lodging. Doing bag transfer from hotel to hotel is so much easier than doing it from an Airbnb. Hotels are equipped to store your bags in a secure location, and someone is on hand to direct the bag transfer. We had our bags picked up from our Airbnb our first day and got a call as we were 2 hours out of town asking where our bags were. That almost gave me a heart attack. Turns out they had gone in the wrong Airbnb and they were able to find them after a little bit. But with a hotel, we would not have had that issue. Thankfully, everything all worked out, but it was very stressful to deal with that in the middle of our hike. Tip number 4, the mileage was longer than advertised. So official mileage on the website for the 5-day itinerary is 15, 12, 15, 15, 15 for 5 days of hiking for a total of 72 miles. However, we clocked 17, 12, 18, 16, 16 for a total of almost 79 miles. It's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, and we got wise to it pretty early, but it's a tough slog of a day when you think you're gonna be done at mile 14.5 and then you end up on mile 18. Especially with wet feet. Tip number 6, book accommodation early. A lot of these towns that you're staying in are pretty small, and there's not a ton of options for where to stay. If you don't book early, you might have to haul camping gear or walk further outside of town to find a place to stay, leading you to longer mileage days. Caldbeck and Greater Langdale were particularly tricky. A couple of options. Ulverston was a little bit challenging, but Keswick and Carlisle did have a lot of options. Tip number 7, plan for wet feet. This trail is boggy, muddy, and has a ton of wet grass as you hike through farmers' fields. The number 1 challenge I had was walking in wet shoes and socks the entire time. By day 5, I had some gnarly blisters that were caused by wet socks rubbing. There's a couple of things that I would have done differently had I known my feet were gonna be so wet the whole time. If you're okay hiking in boots, waterproof boots might be your best option. However, there were times where the bog would have gone up and over the sides of your boot. I also prefer hiking in trail runners, so I wish that I had either tried waterproof socks or had enough pair of socks to switch halfway throughout the day. My best performing socks on the trail were far and away my Darn Tough socks. Next tip, research your lunch options ahead of time. While this trail goes through a decent amount of towns, there are days when it's quite rural, and we didn't go through anything. On our first day and third day, if we didn't know this and hadn't packed lunch, we would have been starving. Each of the towns other than Greater Langdale has a little shop to get provisions, though even in Greater Langdale, we could have stopped at the camp shop. We usually packed a sandwich that had some meats and cheeses, including one that we bought at Portobello Market in London before our trip. We also packed chips and Cadbury's as snacks. The recommended itinerary is recommended for a reason. The official Cumbria Way website recommends a 5-day itinerary starting in Ulverston and going to Carlisle. This is what we did, and it was a great way to do a lot of walking. We basically walked 8 hours a day, except for day 2. And if you want to stay in towns instead of camping, it would be hard to do fewer days than that. However, if you want to add in a rest day, I would recommend doing it in Keswick. I was bummed that we didn't get to explore this really adorable town even more. And if you need any gear, Keswick is a great place to do it because they have over 10 outdoor stores. Next, pack or buy poles. I highly recommend poles for this trail. Since the days are long and the trail is muggy and boggy, it was very helpful to have an extra point of contact. My poles stopped me from falling multiple times, and I would have been significantly more miserable without them. Now, when flying from the US, we do carry-on luggage only, since it's easier to manage on and off public transportation and we don't have to worry about suitcases getting lost. So because of airline regulations, we could not pack poles. We ended up going to Mountain Warehouse and buying one set of 2 poles, so each of us had a pole for the trip. It was only 13 pounds for the poles. Then at the end of the trip, we donated them to a charity shop in Carlisle. Circular economy. However, if you are checking a bag, you can take poles with you. And a reminder, England isn't flat. If you think this hike is not gonna have a lot of elevation gain, think again. Every day had between 1,000 and 3,000 feet of elevation gain, with some seriously steep climbs on the back half of the hike. The trail has a few large mountain passes, including Stake and High Pike, and they were not easy. Poles were extremely helpful here, especially going down. Make sure to leave enough time to get to your lodging on days with elevation gain because these miles are not going to be easy. Overall, the Cumbria Way was a hike that I would recommend to all hikers. It was a challenging but amazing way to explore the Lake District. Happy hiking!